Hi YouTube, it's Corey. It's Friday afternoon, June 19th. I hope everybody is doing really good. I hope the weather is good where you are. Today here in Michigan, it's a really hot and sunny day. It's really nice out. It's supposed to cool down this weekend, I heard. But today is pretty hot. It's upper 80s, almost 90. In fact, it might even be 90 out. But yeah, before I get started here, I want to give a shout out to my friend Poet here on YouTube. I would encourage you guys to check out her channel. She has a channel called Coffee with Poet, and you can look her channel up. And she suffers from multiple mental health diagnoses. I think the biggest ones probably being borderline personality disorder and complex post traumatic stress disorder. And she makes a lot of videos about mental health and, borderline personality disorder and different kind of medications. She's been through just about every aspect of the mental health system, so there's not too much she hasn't been through at this point. So again, her name is Poet. Check out her channel. It's called Coffee with Poet. Um, yeah, I guess I'll get started here. I just wanted to make a quick video today about psychiatric medications. And the reason I'm doing this video is because there's a lot of controversy around taking psychiatric medications right now. Um, and to be honest with you, I can see why they're so controversial, because some of these medications they give us, have so many side effects. It's just ridiculous. But I do believe meds have their place. They've made a great deal of difference to me. But I know that they're a little bit overprescribed in some situations. There's some doctors out there who are pill pushers, who just want to shove pills down your throat, and that's not okay. You really want to have a doctor who's going to listen to you. um, I'm really uncomfortable with people who aren't actually mentally ill being on psychiatric medications. I see it happening a lot, especially with SSRIs. I really don't think you should be on psychiatric medications unless you have a legit mental health diagnosis. But with that being said, I want you guys to know that there are a portion of us who legitimately do need these medications in order to get through daily life and stay out of the hospital. Um, for some people, I don't know about you guys, but for me, taking medication is a last resort. And I'm sure if you're on this channel, you know, medications are probably a last resort for you too. Um, Chances are, you've exhausted all types of therapy before you were first talked to about getting on medication. Um, for me in my case, I definitely need psychiatric medication to stay out of the hospital. Um, for those of you who don't know, who are new to the channel, my name's Corey. I'm 29 years old and I suffer from a schizoaffective disorder. And so I'm taking medication to keep my schizoaffective disorder under control. My depression goes back long before my schizophrenic symptoms started. Um, I always knew there was something wrong with me as a child. I was always very different, very, very standoffish in school, very reserved, had little to do with the other kids at school, and had a couple suicide attempts when I was real young. I think the first time I was 8 or 9, and then the second time I was about 10. Um, and that's not normal behavior for kids. You know what I mean? Kids that young should not be attempting suicide. Um, so I definitely believe I had a chemical imbalance. I believe that's what that was all about. And I've been in therapy a good portion of my life since I was very young. When I was in elementary school, I was in therapy after these suicide attempts I talked to you about for a couple of years, Then again, when I was in middle school, I was in therapy from 6th grade to 9th grade. Um, I got my first mental health diagnosis during that period of time. I was in 8th grade. That year I tested positive for ADHD and social anxiety disorder. It was recommended that I take medication. I never did take medication until I was an adult because since I was under 18, um, both of my parents had to be in agreement to put me on the medication. And long story short, not both of my parents were in agreement with it. So I never could take medication as a child. Um, but I can understand that because, like I said, these medications do have a lot of side effects. And not everybody wants their kids on that. I can totally understand why you would be uneasy with someone under 18 being on psychiatric medication. But anyway, the first time I was on psychiatric medication was when I was 19. I had tried to attempt suicide. That was the last time I did it. It's been 10 years now because I'm 29 now, and I haven't, thank God, I haven't done anything like that since then. But what happened was I was drunk because I was trying to get drunk before actually doing it. And long story short, the police came to my apartment, and because I had a bottle of vodka and I was under 21, I was only 19, I was then put on probation for minor in possession of alcohol. So while I was on probation, I was ordered to get mental health services, and that was the first time I was put on psychiatric medication. I was put on Celexa because I was ordered to get mental health services during my probation, and I went to Life Guidance Services in Grand Rapids, Michigan, which unfortunately no longer exists anymore. But it was a pretty good mental health agency, and I engaged in group therapy throughout my probation and medication management. And it was the first time I was put on psychiatric medication. It was called Celexa. I was on it for a few years. And that was what first really made a big difference with my depression. You know, I went through most of middle school and high school being depressed to the point of being suicidal, and it took a suicide attempt for me to get on this medication. So that goes to show you, you know, I was in therapy most of my life. I tried pretty much everything besides medication. You know, some people will tell me, you know, you need to eat healthier, you need to get more physical exercise, you need to do this, you need to do that. And you guys, I've tried all that. Being on medication is a last resort for me. Vitamin supplements, I've tried that. Different kinds of diets, going gluten free, the keto diet, I've tried all that. Exercise routines. When I was in my earlier 20s and teens, I was really avid into running. And I'm not saying that stuff doesn't help, because it does help. But it just, when it comes to my depression and my schizophrenic symptoms, nothing cuts it the way medication does. The natural holistic stuff just, it doesn't cut it for me. I'm sorry, but my illness is too severe for that. So that is why I'm on psychiatric medication. Sorry guys, I'm kind of sweaty. It's really hot here. But I'm thinking about starting the vitamin supplements again because I do feel like they did help a little bit. A couple years ago when I was in Washington, I was taking something called Vessel Care. It's by Metagenics. If you guys want, you can look up Vessel Care by Metagenics. It's a combination of B vitamins that's supposed to be really good for people with schizophrenia. When it comes to schizophrenia, B vitamins and D vitamins are really important because people with schizophrenia and major depression lack D vitamins and B vitamins. And so I'm thinking about getting back into that. It's been a couple years since I've done it. You know, it doesn't completely get rid of the illness the way medication does, but, you know, it's good to be doing some natural stuff something other than psychiatric medications. And I think it does help a little bit with mood and stability. So yeah, I am thinking about going on vitamin supplements. But yeah, there's no way I could manage this mental illness without the help of medication. It just, I every time I go off medication, it's the same thing every time. I lose touch with reality. Um, and I get to the point where I'm hurting myself, you know. And once you hurt yourself, they really want you to go to the hospital. And nobody wants to have to go to a psychiatric hospital. Nobody wants to be locked up in the ward. That's just no fun. That's not a good way to spend your life. So I'd rather stay healthy and stay on my meds and stay out of the hospital. I'm able to lead a very productive life this way without meds. I've even gone back to school while on meds. So I'm doing that right now. So I have a pretty good life. And, if you're schizophrenic or schizoaffective, or you have a major depressive disorder, or, some other type of related mental illness, there is hope. Just stay in touch with your therapist. Try to see a psychiatrist for medication management, you know. But yeah, that's kind of my take on psychiatric medications. So if you guys have any questions about psychiatric medications, or what medications I'm on, or questions about schizoaffective disorder, any kind of questions you have, just feel free to leave that for me in the comments, and I will get back to you as quickly as possible. But for that, as far as that, I'm pretty much going to wrap things up. I hope everybody has a great weekend. Try to get back on this weekend or next week to make another video. So see you guys. Have a good afternoon. Bye, guys.